These research questions will allow us to conclude how much of an impact Twitter has on African American college-age students and their mental health. It will also allow us to conclude how it impacts our community directly. Survey method. In order to further our research, we decided to use the survey method. We sent out more than 60 surveys to African American college age students at North Carolina Central University. 54 participants responded. We will continue surveying students to further our research concerning African American college age students' suicide.
Survey results. In order to gain a better understanding of the student perspective, we asked students if they are active Twitter users. The question was, do you have a Twitter? 82% of people said yes, 18% said no.
We asked participants how many hours a day they spend on Twitter because it was allow us to determine how frequent students are seeing the tweets. How many hours a day do you spend on Twitter? 23% said 3 or more hours a day. 9.8 said 4 or more hours a day. 8.2 said 10 plus hours a day. 6.6 said 0 hours a day, and the rest fell between 9, and less than 10 minutes.
To gain an understanding on the things that get posted on Twitter, we have asked users what emotion makes them tweet more frequently. The question was, do you tweet more when you are happy or when you are sad? 47.5% of people said both. 21.3% people said happy.
We asked students if they have seen suicidal tweets, and the majority of the respondents answered no. But about 28% answered that they have seen tweets concerning to suicide before. The question was, how often do you see suicidal tweets? 59% said never, 27.9% said somewhat, the rest fell between frequently, none, no, and I do not have a Twitter.
We asked this question to further identify if African American college age students believe Twitter prevents suicide, and 66% of participants answered with no.
%80 of students participants believe that Twitter posts and messages do increase suicide. Twitter allows you to directly contact a person by their Twitter handle and their extension and over 160 characters to post. And the question was, do you think posts and or messages on Twitter can increase suicide?
Do you know someone who has lost their life due to suicide? This question is to determine the personal relation between Twitter, suicide, and African American college age students. 45.9% have said yes, and 54.1% have said no.
Have you ever thought about suicide? This question is to determine how personal suicide is to the respondents, and if their emotion drives them to help other people who struggle with suicide as well. 65.6 said no, and 34.4 said yes.
The question was, do you think suicide is taken seriously on Twitter? 72.1% said no, and only 27.9% said yes. We believe that suicide isn't taken seriously on Twitter because a lot of Twitter users may not be aware of how serious suicide is. Also, many people on Twitter are also too young to actually know what suicide is and mental illnesses and things of that nature.
What do you think the most common reason is for suicide? According to psychologist.com, the #1 reason that African American college age students commit suicide is because of depression and or mental illness. 50.8 fall in the category of depression, 34.4 fall under the category of bullying. The rest fell between mental illness, all of the above, all three, combination of all, depression and bullying, and all of the above.
According to ASFP.org, the suicide rate of ages 18 through 24 has increased 2% since 2014. Which ages do you think commit suicide the most? 72.1% is ages 16 through 19. 9.8% is ages 20 through 24. 13.1% is ages 10 through 15.
Do you think suicide is preventable? 18% said maybe, and 80.3% said yes. There's research that shows that there are outreaches and counseling that you can do to kind of make yourself feel better, because we believe that depression is more of the problem, and we believe that depression is curable. They have pills, they have counseling and things of that nature to get you out of that situation. Do you know someone who has tweeted or retweeted a post about suicidal thoughts? 50.8% said no, and 49.2% said yes. We believe that this 50.8% comes from people who don't spend as much time on Twitter, so they don't have as big of a window to be able to see such tweets, things of that nature, or they may not spend their time actually reading the post, or they might spend their time more just tweeting about what's going on with them than to be reading and seeing what's going on Twitter. If so, have you reached out to them concerning their tweets? 50.8% said no, 36.1% said yes. On this one, we believe that some people don't know how to go about suicide, because in some households, suicide isn't prevalent. So that some people don't have the information to know that they should sit down with their friends and talk about situations of that sort, trying to help them out. Some people don't know that they should call a hotline or tell a counselor or to tell the teacher about how they feel about their friends. Do you think seeing users tweet about suicide influences other users to do the same? 55.7% said no, and 44.3% said yes. We believe that the peer pressure on Twitter isn't as, we'll say, hard. I would say it's kind of hard to influence someone through words. Like just because you did it don't mean that I should do it, or just because like that was your way out doesn't mean it's mine. I think it's more like it goes off every situation. Like some people in their situation of what they're going through at home, they feel like, all right, this is my escape plan, and for others they don't see it that way. Do you feel better or worse after being on Twitter for hours? 32.8% said yes, and 9.8% said worse. Twitter is actually, well, for me, I believe Twitter is where I get most of my laughs from. I believe that it's very comedic on Twitter. So I believe that's part of the reason why some people do say that, yes, it makes them feel better. Especially, it's even though it has some negative news on there, I believe that most people on there try to be positive. So I think that's one of the upsides of having the Twitter.
Discussion. We have concluded that respondents acknowledge that Twitter is a factor that plays in African American college-age suicide. The survey results tell us that students believe suicide is preventable, but believe they do not have enough resources to do so. As we continue to further our research, we are continuing to discuss innovative ways to help bring awareness and resources to communities that host African American college-age students.
Implications of research. We believe we are helping raise awareness by acknowledging that there is a connection between Twitter and suicidal African American college-age students. By acknowledging the problem, we believe it is the start to help African American college-age students and let them know there are resources in the community that can help them throughout this emotional time. We are helping raise awareness and are pitching future direction for African American college age students in America to make their mental health a priority.
Future direction. As we continue to explore our research, we hope to recruit more college-age participants to survey. Currently, only 61 African-American college-age students have answered.
If you or someone you know may need emotional support in a suicidal crisis, call 1-800-273-8255.
Thank you.
And again, call them.